Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. Hope you are having a fantastic day, perhaps even a better day than I. We're going to take a look here at Terra Classic, help you understand best practice and big picture. And just so you know, I'll be mousing with my left hand, which is a very new experience because I got attacked by two pit bulls and my right hand is fairly useless for at least the immediate foreseeable future. Not a pity party, just the way things happen, unfortunately, but thankfully my dog is alive. He survived a surgery and I should be able to walk away from this. So anyways, regardless of that fact, we're going to take a look here, of course, at Terra Classic and exactly what's going on here with this descending type of trend. So in that regard, with this descending trend that we're seeing, we want to know how much lower it's going to go, and generally speaking, where we might see a bouncing point, or perhaps if we break this to the upside, what that might look like too, all right? Because again, when it comes to technical analysis, you're really just trying to figure out statistical probability of either direction. Okay, so let's open up with the obvious here first, and that the traditional markets didn't do so well today for the open, right? They're kind of drawing dead right now. They're up and down, so to speak, within a small range. But generally speaking, they gapped down and then they've increased and decreased in that time. So I kind of hit the old reset button there for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin essentially sold off a little bit today. I don't think it's terrible because I just covered Bitcoin and I think it's actually looking fairly decent. But the general sense here is that we're expecting Bitcoin to hold 19,800 and likely continue upwards. How that affects Terra Classic is that, well, Terra Classic is moderately synonymous with Bitcoin's behavior. And I say moderately because you see we've got 5 red days here. Bitcoin's only had 3. So in that sense, we got to recognize that there's obviously not a direct pairing. But if Bitcoin has a bad day, Terra Classic sells off pretty aggressive. All right, and when Bitcoin has a good day, Terra Classic, unfortunately, still sold off recently because it was overextended to the upside. So again, handful of different things to factor in. What we're going to look at is the volume profile and kind of see where we're at with that. Let's go ahead and start with that and kind of just get perspective here on the larger time frames and work our way down. We can see the most amount of volume is accumulated right at the current price point, if not just below. So 2/3 of the most amount of volume that we have in the recent relative past is right there at about 29/28,000. It's always been a point of contention. You can kind of see this here. It's been recently and previously rejected at specific price points, and ultimately it's just one of those things where it's going to be continuing to do this, at least for some time. And what I mean by that is that level is always going to be a point of contention, and the great news about this, though, is that that's mostly a support level, and the likelihood of it breaking below that is fairly low because you can see a lot of buying pressure is there. So again, just some kind of perspective to give you there. It's very, very nice to see that. And I really enjoy the fact that we're above a support. Concurrently, we're also above 50 on the RSI as well. So I speculate in the relative near future, we're going to see the price action more so increase than decrease, just based on the simple fact that that's holding strong as a support level and has for the last week and a half. Okay, so definitely looking pretty good there in that regard. We do have a MACD divergence on that daily, but it's not very strong at all. So I don't put a lot of weight into it if it doesn't have a tremendous amount of momentum. So in that regard, yes, we're 5 days into this downtrend. We have potential of 4 more extra days of red, but on the same accord, we are getting close to this breaking point, that 28,000 support, and I think that's an important thing to note. So I would say mostly positive here. Let's take a quick look at the simple moving averages as well and kind of get perspective on what that looks like. We can see the 200, correction, the 20 is working its way up as a potential support, and we can also see too here, if we kind of look at the long-term ascending trend, the 50-day simple moving average is working its way up as well. So when those two things kind of collide, so to speak, that's a positive thing that really helps the price action push up higher. So the likelihood of further downside below 28,000, I think, is very low. That's just basically what I'm thinking. All right, so again, that's generally what we're looking at here for the most part, all well and good in that regard. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour and kind of see if we have a similar story. We have unfortunate circumstances here in the sense of the fact that we're under all moving averages. I put a little more weight into the traditional moving averages on the daily, such as the 50. I would say that's most relevant. But if you can see here, the 200 itself, the price is below that. So that's disadvantageous on the 4-hour time frame. Really helps us understand that we're still potentially bearish on the midterm and perhaps even the short term as well. If we look at the RSI, we're also under 50 on the RSI, never a great sign, and the MACD is diverging still. However, it's starting to dissipate. So if we start to see those oscillators coming back, retracting, that's very, very helpful. Okay, let me see if I can get rid of this here. It's not easy with one hand. Okay, so that's basically right here. So for lack of better terms, we've pretty much got 3 out of 3 indications telling us that we're not in fantastic shape on the 4-hour. Let's see if there's any overextension that will help us tell a lot. And then there is actually. If we look at this here, we're at an 8 on TD sequential, basically implying that we've had pretty much 8 4-hour candlesticks in a row that have been, lower than the previous. And by the way, what this does, TD sequential is just taking the 4th previous candlestick and counting up to 9. So essentially, if you look back here, 1, 2, 3, 4, this candlestick's higher, the current one is lower, therefore it continues to count up. As it does that, once it hits a 9, you hit this over-exhaustive state, and the likelihood of the price action pulling back and going the opposite direction is fairly high. On the 4 hour specifically, even higher, because the larger the time frame you see this, the more gravity it has. So to me, in this sense, even though yes, the price is continuing lower, in general, and we're seeing lower highs pretty consistently, I do believe that we were probably due for a potential, I wouldn't necessarily say a breakout, but likely a higher high or potentially a higher low first. Those are things we want to look for. The way that you can identify pattern breakouts is by looking for higher lows. We don't have them just yet, still a little premature. We're mostly drawing dead and going parallel / sideways. But generally speaking, if we start having higher lows, those will eventually create higher highs, and then you have breakouts at key level resistances, which cause short squeezes to the upside. So a lot of cool stuff could very well happen here soon. But generally speaking, the bottom line is it hasn't proven that it doesn't want to continue any further. It still looks like it wants to go lower. Because we got to keep in mind here, most recently here, you can kind of see this almost a straight line where the price continued sideways, and it wicked all the way down to the Fibonacci retracement level there, right at about 30,000 even. Right now, we're seeing similar patterns of behavior where the price keeps wicking down below, but it does not want to go below 29,500. So hypothetically, we could see one of two things. We could see another leg down, just like we saw previously, where the price gets rejected, continues to consolidate at that previous support level there at about 28,000. Or we could also see the inverse, where the price action breaks above and starts to make higher lows. We're really looking for higher lows here, and that would ultimately be what we want to see. So in other words, the price action comes up and just continues to make higher lows. That's ultimately the way that we see a pattern reversal. So hypothetically, the price goes up and continues to make higher lows. It'll have a little bit of resistance here at 31,250, but what we want to see is a wedge breakout to the upside. That's ultimately what we're looking for. That gives us a smiley face, right? So again, something to kind of think about in the general sense here is that we haven't broken this downtrend yet. Until we establish higher lows, I think we need to expect it to continue lower. That's generally the consensus there. If we look at the Ichimoku cloud, all green lights to keep your short position open. There's really no reason to take a long based on the simple fact that you're chasing the bottom, right? Never chase the bottom. It's like finally like the cardinal rule or cardinal sin or whatever you call it for trading. Because again, you buy the dip, it keeps dipping. That sucks, right? When you dip, I dip, it dips. All that stuff is not positive. So in this sense, instead of chasing the bottom, I would say wait for confirmation. Heaven forbid the price comes up a little bit. You can catch the next little drop and then buy in there. And at least at that point, you have confirmation that we're going the right direction. All right, so those are things I like to teach in my trading university. I think I skipped over this, but I do have a trading university and also a signal group / community, kind of a catch-all where we just all learn and grow together. I send out trade signals for the trades that I take. We've been taking some monster profits, took 80% off Bitcoin here recently, Ethereum 77%, and then just most recent yesterday, we've kind of cashed in on our long for XRP at roughly 62%. So again, a lot of different things you want to kind of think about. They're all using BitGet as well, so I highly recommend using this exchange. Just to touch on this really quick, you get a lot of transfer bonus funds for using this exchange. They give you a healthy amount. So what you do is you basically create an account with link in the description below before November 30th, and if you transfer funds and essentially trade with this exchange, they'll give you the bonus USDT. It was the easiest money I made, honestly. So, I mean, outside of some really easy trades, that's a different story. Anyways, check that out in your own time, of course. And again, if you want to be part of this community, we have some fantastic traders in the community. Like, they're just raking in the cash. I wouldn't recommend 125x, so that was kind of a little fun thing. But generally speaking, I recommend 10 to 20x with low position sizes, and essentially making sure you use at least a trailing stop loss that adjusts with your target as it continues higher or lower. Again, just some little things that we use to strategize in the bear market. We're very, very successful right now, and it's nice to be able to kind of celebrate that, because a lot of folks are just so sad and sick and tired of losing money because they keep going long, and sometimes you just got to short your shirt off, right? I'm not saying you should do that now, but most of the signs are there telling us that the price should continue lower until we establish higher lows. That's the important takeaway here. All right, once again, hope you had a great rest of your hope you have a great rest of your day, rather. Hope you had a good learning experience, and we look forward to seeing you all in the next video. You take good care of yourself now. We'll see you soon.